We are live, back with our special guest, returning now for what is it, the third time. We got my man Steve. Steve, what's going on, dude?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me back.
Always. I know. Like a while ago when you were on, you had been thinking maybe of getting reviving the YouTube channel or getting the YouTube channel up and going. Did you ever put any more thought into that?
Yeah, I feel like that's like my retirement gig. I'd love to do it. I really would. I just don't feel like I'm creative enough to like continuously have a conversation. But that's one thing that I like coming on your streams because it's a chance to engage. And that's one thing that I want to do more is I want to be more engaged. And I don't really know how to do that. So like going to collecticons, one of my goals this year is to go to Japan. So like I'd like to be a little bit more engaged, but like it is difficult to figure out how to do that with like everything else going on. But no, to answer your question, I don't think content creation is probably not going to be my avenue, at least for the time being. I mean, that would be awesome, but I just don't think I'm creative enough to keep a captive audience.
That's not even something we discussed before stream, but that's like a great topic right there. Like the level of engagement in this hobby is like so different depending on who you talk to. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself really engaged that much at all before like I started my YouTube channel. I mean, I was a part of some online forums. I watched a lot of YouTube. I did a lot of research on my own, like talked to some of my friends here locally. But I mean, once YouTube and like Discords really became more of a thing, the level of engagement, it's like, it feels like 24/7. I mean, you can log on to Discords and you see conversations being had all day long. There's YouTube content creators that post videos almost every day, and you just there's so much like information put out there, but it's like on the other end, you can almost get like too engaged where you like burn yourself out. Have you found that happening at all?
Yeah. So, I mean, like I know there's tons of online engagement and like, I feel like I'm definitely not missing out on that. I mean, I'm like listening to podcasts, watching videos. I used to be a big music guy and really now like I mostly just listen to podcasts and watch YouTube videos and listen to YouTube videos while I drive. So like I have tons of engagement virtually, but it's like I don't know, that's just I'm not a social media guy outside of YouTube and I don't know. But yeah, burnout. Like with what I'm doing now, I'm not burned out because I have a lot of other things going on, but there's a lot of things that I don't enjoy about what I'm trying to do. And I am just trying to keep my head down and be like, I mean, there's always going to be something that you don't enjoy no matter what you're doing, right? Like Michael Jordan didn't love everything about basketball. There was probably like a 3-a-day workout that he really just didn't want to do. But like he did it because there was worth it. Like there are parts of the job that just suck. And for me, like what I don't really enjoy is making listings. And I've been making a lot of listings since we did this the first time.
So stop there. Let's tell everyone. So Steve made it a point this year to legitimize his business, get everything up and running. So just I guess like as much as you're comfortable with, tell him what you did, what your plan is, what your plan was.
Yeah. So I guess like the quick recap for people who didn't see the first time I was on, I basically had a 6-figure position in sealed product and sealed video games and PSA slabs going into like I think it was February 23. I started like liquidating a lot of that. And it took me, that was like the first time I really became a seller. Because before that, I was just buying. I was just buying since Pokemon Go was kind of my get back in the hobby time. So I just started selling all that off. And I was ready to just clear it out, be done for a minute, and just hit the reset button. And it was kind of surprising, like how much I had accumulated over those years. And now it's like I didn't want to be done with the hobby, but I wanted to start over. So I took like a portion of that money that I made and rolled it into an LLC and was like, I'm going to try the flipper thing and actually be legit about it and pay taxes and get a reseller certificate and try and do this the right way. At least what I think would be, how do you scale this over the next 5 years and turn it into something that's somewhat impressive? So that was kind of the goal. And now I'm just about, I guess probably close to a year I've been doing it. And it's a lot of grading, a lot of quick flips, and it's a lot of work. Like there's a lot that goes into it. And I have like a full-time job. My wife works. So like there's a lot of, and we're pretty engaged with our families. So like there's a lot of other things going on too. So I might go on a work trip for 3 or 4 days, come home, and the first thing I need to do is like catch up on what I missed. And I've got to go to the post office. So there's a very long answer for you.
No, it's good. It's good because, man, I just think, and I don't watch as much Pokemon content as I used to, but I mean, when I say I used to watch content, I mean, especially when I was starting up YouTube, really trying to get ideas, man, I watch, just, I don't even know how many hours a day, and the one thing that I don't see people talk about a lot is that side of things is one, the burnout where, I mean, everyone has different tolerances, but man, some people, man, they're just like, they're wheeling and dealing every single day, constantly buying and selling, always listing, always on the online, making deals back and forth, PayPal and Venmo here and Facebook groups and Discords, Instagrams, and, always grading, always buying. I'm just like, and so, when I went full time with this and, I'm like, okay, I got some money coming from social media, some here, but I guess this is how you got to do it. You got to, and so I did the same thing, dude. I jumped in, got all legit, reseller permit, all that. And I found out real quick that I don't like this as much as maybe some of these other people do. Cause, I was moving a good amount. Like, everyone always like references their eBay, like 90-day, like my eBay 90-day was like sticking around like 30 to 40,000. And so I was moving like anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 a month. And that was just eBay. That wasn't like private sales, all the other stuff. And so it was quite a bit, right? And like you said, it's a lot of work, which isn't talked about as much. It's a lot of the nitty gritty where it's like you said, the buying's great, right? The grading, right? Sending the cards in, you get them back. It's fun to see what you got. It's that dopamine hit. But then comes the listing and taking the pictures or scans and making the titles and then getting them all up and then dealing with the customer messages, trying to work deals with you and then dealing with the shipping. And it's like a lot of monotonous, not fun stuff comes along with this.
For sure. Yeah. There is a lot, man. There really is. And there are those dopamine hits, and that's like what makes it worth it. And just finding the cards too. Like I'm not huge on I'm not like diehard modern. I'm not diehard vintage. Like I'm an opportunist. If it's a good condition card and it's going for below market price, then I'm probably going to buy it if I have my eyes on it. Like if it goes in front of me throughout the day, like I'll buy it. I don't care if it's from 2004 or 2024. If it can grade a 10 and I can get it right around market price and there's a margin there, like I'll buy that. And it's like in the back of your mind, it's even if you're doing that 5 times a day, what I found on a lot of cards, I mean, there's no surprise. Margins continue to get thinner and thinner as more and more people do this, unless there's like so many of these modern alt arts that are hitting 10s. And there's a lot of people that are grading. So like the margins, it's kind of a race to the bottom until like some weird thing happens in the market and you see some capitulation, like recently with modern alt arts. But then you find yourself in a weird position. It's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. The simple thing would just be to buy and hold. But if you're trying to flip, you need the cash flow to buy something else. So you sell the Gengar TG06 PSA 10 for $50, and then now it's going for $120. And it's like, well, shit, I had 10 of those in the PSA 10, but I needed to move those, and I moved them up slowly as I noticed they were being bought out. I'd raise the price, and now I have none of that card left. But it's just one of those things. So.
Well, one of the things you said is that constant like battle of the the graded cards going up and down. It's like the first to market plays a thing, right? Anyone who can get out of the gate as quick as possible, get it graded, get it on the market, you're going to make a lot of money. And then it's kind of a race to the bottom from there. But then there's like a time period where maybe people forget about it. A couple of new sets come out, and there's just not the grading play kind of went away, so not as many people graded it. And then like we're seeing with Scarlet and Violet right now is the popularity returns to those cards or that spot, and there's not enough graded cards in the market. There's not enough graded cards out there. And so they start shooting up because there's a supply issue. So now there's another play. So then what happens is everyone runs back, tries to get the raw copies, grades them, and then eventually that play goes back, disappears again. It comes back down because a lot of people flush them on the market again. And it's this constant battle you're playing about, you know, the supply on the market of graded cards, where if the play's there. And it does kind of seem almost, I mean, again, not less with vintage and older stuff, but especially with modern, it's this like herd mentality. It just seems like the whole group is all moving together wherever the play goes, you know, and it's making the plays disappear faster than they used to.
Yeah, and it works out well for you because we've talked before about market depth and how there's really not any market depth in Pokemon. I mean, you could buy out, if somebody wanted to buy out Paldean Face right now, they could almost do it on eBay and change the buy it now price by $10 just overnight. And somebody would come in tomorrow and put something, you know, undercut the next guy and be right back down to market price. But like there is not a ton of market depth in Pokemon. So you like it is tough, but the other side of that though is you really do want to buy, at least what I've found is I've had more success as soon as a set comes out. That's really when you want to buy singles. Like, you know, they're going to crash and you know, like you need to get these cards into grade and sell them quickly. So you have that going against you. But the other side is the longer you wait, at least what I've found is the condition of the cards, like it gets harder to find near mint cards. So you want to buy, what I do is I'll buy 30, 40, 50 copies of a card and maybe 5 or 10 of them are gradable. And then half of those come back as a 10. And then I just sell the other, dump the singles back onto the market. I lose a couple dollars on the 9s. I make my money on the 10s. But that's a lot of work to make, you know, $100. And my whole philosophy is that I have liquidity through the quantity of listings that I have. Like most product isn't super liquid. I mean, there's some things that'll sell faster, but everything we touch in the space is significantly less liquid than a stock or crypto.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 100% there, but like definitely different stages of liquidity. Being like you said, being an opportunist, do you try to stay like any type of like certain percentages on like more of the brand new modern, like ultra modern, ultra liquid stuff compared to like some of the less liquid? Like, do you have like a certain amount you don't mind sitting on for 3, 6, 9 months or whatever if the margins are good enough, or do you try to keep most of it in the real liquid stuff? Where do you find yourself? Just anything and everything, or do you try to keep it in certain areas?
I'm still trying to figure all that out. I mean, I've been doing this really consistently for almost a year now, and I still don't think I've had enough time to really figure it out. And maybe I'm just not good at it, but I feel like I'm putting in a lot of effort, and I'm going to know I'm going to be able to take a stronger stance maybe this time next year. But I really don't. If I grade something like a Warner Brothers Dragonite promo, like that's a $250 card in a PSA 10. I've done that play since before COVID for, pretty consistently. And you can buy those cards, and you're probably 1 out of 20 of those cello packs are going to be worth grading, and then half of those might hit a 10. But I'm happy to sit on that card for a very long time. Like it's not super popular. There's also not a huge population of it. You don't have a big buyer pool, but when I do sell one, it's like $200 straight to my pocket. But then I go back and forth though, because then the other side is like, it would be nice to have $200 right now so I could go buy $200 new inventory. So it's just a constant battle, and there's not enough liquidity in my business to just keep buying nonstop. I'm not at that point where I can just keep buying nonstop and just let my buy it now slowly sell. But that's eventually where I want it to go. I eventually want it to be, there's so much inventory that I just have liquidity by having so much product. And I can, consistently move thousands of dollars out the door every week. But I'm a long way off from that. And what I've ended up having to do is I would do not a buyout, but I would buy 50 copies of a new card for $5 a piece, and just try and do grade 15 copies of those. And some of those worked out really well. And I've got, 15 or 20 copies in a PSA 10 in my closet right now. But it's like, okay, now I need the liquidity. So I need to auction some of these off, and I'm going to probably take maybe 10%, which right now, we talked about this before stream, but you can auction things off right now and get damn near market price. So it's not a bad time to sell, but then that collector side comes out of me, and I'm like, dude, I really want to hold on to these. I'd like to have a whole stack of these 10s because in 2 or 3 years, I guarantee you I'm going to be kicking myself for selling them for 50, 60 bucks a piece. But yeah, I mean, it's just a constant swing.
Well, I think one of the things you kind of touched on there too about the plays is, like when it comes to like, stock trading, right? You have all like the guru type people trying to sell you the courses online. They're, they have these crazy videos, all these crazy percentage gains. But the people I actually know, I know a couple who are legitimately successful at stock trading, day trading, and they're not the ones you're going to see online. But a lot of them, or the ones I know at least, and I'm pretty sure, from what I've heard, is they'll just trade the same few stocks every day. And they're not going out looking for the high flyers. They're not jumping in the game stops. They're not, they literally just have the stocks that they move in a range, and they figure out the range, and they're able to make a couple percent or 0.5%, 1% on them every day. And they're able to make a living on it. And I think the same thing in Pokemon can be true. I think too much, we're always looking for the next thing, where it's like you said, that Dragonite play, you've been doing it for years. There are so many plays in Pokemon where you could literally do it again and again and again for months on end. And the play doesn't disappear. Like, they're still there. Like, you can still buy the same card for a relatively same price range. The PSA 10 has relatively the same amount of margin worked in. And maybe it gets harder because there's less mint copies as time goes on. But the plays don't disappear because you make the play one time, you sold the 10s, and now you have to find something else. I think that's understated, is people should be more okay with doing the same play again and again and again and again.
I totally agree. I think we've talked about this all 3 times now. I'm going to bring it up for the 3rd time. The Ancient Muse. I mean, Ancient Mew has been that. I literally owned 1% of the Ancient Muse at one point. And it's like, that play has been very consistent for 10 years. I mean, since 2016, when I got back into this, I've been buying Ancient Muse sealed and selling the 10s and selling the 9s. The 9s sell great. You lose money on the 8s and below. But and you can even make money selling the Ancient Muse back onto the market sealed. So I mean, yeah, there and that play's been. I mean, that card's been out since 2000, and there's plenty more out there. I mean, there's always another guy who finds a box of 600 and he just dumps them on the market. So and the 10s are going to sell for $300 to $400.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, that play has been around for a long time. There's a ton of plays that have been around for a long time, but having the other thing is I don't have enough time to just sit here. Well, there's not enough. So there's a couple of things. Like, there's not enough. If you buy it, let's say you put 10 grand in Ancient Muse. It's like, okay, well, that'll probably work out pretty well. Like, you might make 10% on that. So but it's going to take you 9 months to realize that $1,000 of profit, because you've got one card and you're going to do a single listing until, wait till it buys, put another one up, sell it. You just don't have the liquidity there.
It's been one of my biggest, like, I guess, disagreements or arguments I've always had with, I don't know how many, debates or channels you've watched, but a lot of the people who are very heavy into flipping, a lot of those same people are very against investing because it's too slow. Like, I can, flip those products 10 times by the time your investment goes up. I can make so much more money. But the issue is exactly what you said right there. A lot of those same people will hold large amounts of inventory. They'll have 300, 400, 500, 1,000 listings on their eBay page. And it's like, well, if you're holding tens of thousands or more in inventory that isn't selling for 3, 6, 9, 12 months, that's the same as investing. You're just investing in inventory.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't understand why there's like so much criticism against buying modern product and sitting on it. Like, it's
it's seen as like a too easy, brain dead play. Anyone can do it. And, it's not much like skill involved, I guess you could say, or whatever expertise needed.
It takes, okay. Like, maybe, and I'll just be the devil's advocate to your point against their point.
Yeah.
But like, let's say there is no rhyme or reason. Like, it's just so easy. You just buy it and throw it in the closet. But how many people are actually disciplined to sit on it for 5 years? Not many. There's really not.
It's just like saying you could put $1,000 into a retirement account every single month for 30 years and you'll be a millionaire. How many people do it?
Right. Yeah. No, I think sealed is still the way to go for people who don't have time. And that's what I did for a long time. I did that before it was even really a thing. The only person who was really doing anything was Rudy back in 2016. And it was with Magic. It wasn't even with Pokemon. But I just took that, when Pokemon Go came out, I was like, dude, I just really want evolutions. Like, I just think that's really cool. And my brother he's younger than me, and he liked it. And I was like, dude, this is what we're doing. Like, this is awesome. And we just had fun with it, had a lot of fun with it. And it worked out really well. And I think it'll continue to work. But I don't think the majority of people who are buying sealed products are going to own those sealed products in 5 years. So, like, let's say an Evolving Skies happens. Like, the box is what, $700 now? I mean, shit, dude, I sold out of Evolving Skies at $400. I was like, I'm pretty happy with that. And I don't kick myself for that, but like, that's a good point. I mean, I didn't even hold on to it for a year or two. I don't even know how long I held it, but not for long. And I was like, dude, $400, like 4X on my money. I'm pretty happy to sell my 3 or 4 cases and move on to the next thing. So like most people and then you have so many other people who actually just open the product. So I don't know. Sealed is
Paldea Evolve's kind of going through that right now. Like, I can't tell you how many times, people told me it's too early. It's going to get reprinted. Like, no one likes these Scarlet Violet sets right now. Wait till they get like the Gen 1, Gen 2 type Pokemon in them and the later sets. The early sets always suck. You got to wait till the later ones. And it's like, well, I mean, those cases were $500 to $550. Now they're selling for $800 on TCG Player pretty much every week. And it's just like, the plays can be there. It's just, I think, I definitely think when you get in the business, like you're in it, right? Like kind of like you are, but it's not your full-time gig. But if it was, I could definitely understand you get so engulfed in it that you feel like everything has to be moved and flipped and moved and flipped. And you kind of just, it almost feels unnatural to hang on to anything and not have it listed, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, like, to kind of shift a little bit, I think what Pokemon's doing with modern sets is really smart. Like, people are saying like the new Pokemon suck. I don't have any, I don't like the new Pokemon either. Like, we're all like 30-year-old men, right? So we grew up with the Gen 1 through 3, most likely. That's most people. And I think Pokemon's being really smart because every set has like 4 to 6 really nice alt arts of like those Gen 1, 2, 3, some of those OGs. Like, they just reprinted Relicanth. It's like no one ever collected a Relicanth card. But
same thing when you go look at it's same thing when you look at like the Sun and Moon tag team sets. Like, other than that Latias Latios, which is out of left field, most all the other ones are Gen 1, Gen 2. It's like it's the cheat code.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's their secret sauce, and it always will be. But I think they're being really smart about it by releasing only so many of them in an alt art every set. So I think in 10 years from now, there's going to be people who want the Gen 1 alt art of the entire Sword and Shield through Scarlet and Violet. Like, once they started doing those alt art, like that new style of art that they're doing, those ARs, like, there's going to be people that want the complete AR set, and it's going to come out over like a period of a decade, because it's going to take them forever to just, every quarter they release a new product, and every product's got 4 to 8 new or old cards that are reprinted in the new art. And I think there's going to be collectors that want to collect that AR set of the original 151, of the next gen, of Gen 3. And we'll see that.
How hard has it been for you or do you even like invest in product anymore?
Yeah, so that's really hard. I a little bit. So I basically clean slate. Like, I haven't bought anything old. I bought nothing that wasn't in production, just because I'm working with a limited amount of capital. So when Crown Zenith did the reprint, I bought quite a bit of that, and then I bought a shit ton of 151 UPCs. And that's part of like the problem that I'm in now, is like, I've got so much of my liquidity is tied up in that sealed product that I can't, like, my original goal was just to be able to cycle this set amount of capital that I was going to use. Because I'm really trying to be disciplined about that. I could throw some more money in the business and just keep doing my thing, but I really want to see how much I can grow, especially for the first year, because I want like a legitimate end of year. Like, I know how much I put in. I want to see my percent return, and then be able to look at it and be like, was it even worth it? Or should I, with all the grading, with all the singles I now have, the massive amount of inventory, the amount of times I go to the post office, would I be better off just staying in sealed product or buying graded cards already? Like, do I want to keep grading? I mean, dude, I've graded like 2,500 cards this year. It's a lot.
It's for me.
That's a lot for me.
Yeah, and it's so hard to tell. Like I made a video, and it was just me kind of trying to stir the pot a little bit, as I do here on YouTube. But I put out a video where, you know, I was looking at Fusion Strike when it made its big jump, right? And you could have literally looked at, like, from when I made the video, it was 2 years ago that Fusion Strike was $80. And so in 2 years, it went from $80 to $240. And so the whole point of the video was saying, okay, anyone out there who sits on over, like, you know, $50,000, $100,000 in inventory at any given time, you could have literally just bought $50,000, $100,000 of Fusion Strike, and you could have made 50 to 100 grand per year by just sitting on that. Like, so if you're not making 50 to 100 grand per year with your flipping business profit, you're doing something wrong. You could have just sat in Fusion Strike with your feet up on the couch every day.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, man. The opportunity cost, like, no one has infinite resources, whether, you know, even if you have a ton of money, like, you're strapped for time. So, like, you've got to figure out what makes sense. And I'm just trying to figure out what makes sense right now for me. But, like, I'm more engaged with the hobby now on, like, a day-to-day basis than I ever have been. And I do like that, but I just want to be able to engage more, like, in the flesh. You know, like, I want to, like, get out from behind the computer. I want to be able to go to Collecticons. I said earlier, like, one of the things I want to do this year is go to Japan.
Are you going to any Collecticons?
I haven't been to any, and I don't have any plans to go to any soon.
Hit up New Jersey, man.
When is that?
End of July. I'll be in that one.
Yeah, I'd be down, dude. I mean, I'd like to start getting more engaged. Because I feel like that's another, like, kind of secret part of this to make it all really work, is, like, you do need connections. I called PSA and was trying to figure out how to get a reduced rate. Dude, you've got to do $100,000 a year in grading for them to even have a conversation with you. And you have to have 3 professional hobby references and, like, a few other things. But there's, like, a list. I mean, you basically have to submit a resume of, like, how hardcore of a collector you are.
So $100,000 divided by $15, that'd be 6,666 cards.
That's dark, man. Maybe they're fucking with us.
That's a lot. That's a lot of cards, though. About 6,000 to 7,000 cards, seems like.
Yeah, wow. And that's a lot. I mean, it's a lot for me. That would be a lot for me because I'm doing a lot now. I guess if I stayed at the same pace I'm at now, I'd be pretty close to that by the end of the year. But it would take me.
It's like 600 a month.
Yeah, that's a lot, man. I'm doing 2 submissions a month right now, and I try not to submit unless I have at least 100 cards.
Yeah. So just make sure the shipping doesn't eat into it.
Yeah, because you get charged, like, grading cost, or right now I think they are running a special. I just did one today for $13.99. So if you guys do want to make any submissions now, this month of June, they're running a $1 off.
Now, would you say so? Are the majority of your cards, like, lower end then, like, probably like under $200-$300?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely, Mike. I'm buying a ton of cards from, like, less than $20, and then grading those and making, like, $5 every time I ship a package. I'm like, I made $5 to $15, you know? Yeah. And then when I'm selling the singles back onto the market, I'm losing 40 cents. If I grade a 9, I'm losing $3 or $4. If I grade an 8, I get, you know, I'm losing $10, $15. So, like, actually probably more than that. I mean, if you grade an 8 in a brand new set, you won't even sell it for $15. So you lose the grading fee, you lose the shipping, you tie up liquidity for 90 days, and you lose the price of the card. So you might as well crack the card and just sell the single. And
you know what I've actually done? I saved up a bunch of my 7s and 8s. I sent them to one of the bulk submission places.
Really?
They were, at the time, they were paying it was CGC was less, but Beckett and PSA, they were paying like $7 a slab for, and all I had to be was near mint or better. I'm just like, man, $15 shipping fees. I'm like, it's gonna be about the same, and I have to wait for them all to sell. I just took the whole stack, said, all right, $7 a piece, send them all in, got the check, done.
Yeah. So we talk about, like, the dopamine hits, dude. That is the opposite, right? Like, that makes you feel like, damn, that sucks. And you've got to just be doing the volume, and it all averages out. But it does suck to just lose on anything. So I definitely feel the losses in this more than I do feel happy about the gains. Like, the losses make me like, okay.
Paul, I got to respond to this comment that just came in because I know it sounds like, oh, you suck at grading. That's why you evaluate the cards and know what most 8s look like. You have less losses. Dude, first of all, I've had PSA submissions where I've literally had like 90 like 7% 10 rate. So yeah, I know what I'm doing. It's just sometimes you get that grader, especially when you're trying to grade like trainer galleries or trying to grade like hollow promos, things that are harder to grade. When you get that wrong person, man, they'll just start slapping 8s on them. And if you've graded enough times, you've probably been through that at least once. So trust me, I've had the best of grading people and I've had the worst. So eights happen.
For sure. And not super often. I mean, it's mostly 9s, but still you lose money on 9s right now. Like if you're grading modern cards and you get a 9, you're losing money. So, and there's a lot of like the print quality on a lot of things. Like one of my plays that I really had a lot of success with was I probably bought 20 cases of Obsidian Flames ETBs, and I was just selling the packs, like 36 pack lots, selling off the Charmander sleeves and losing money on those, and then grading the Charmanders. And the Charmanders in a PSA 10, they're like $90, but they're really hard to get. They're really hard to get 10s in. So you're sitting on like a bunch of Charmander promos that are really, you just got to dump back on the market. And like I have a closet full of them, and they sell for like $9 or $10 a piece, which is nice, but it's still going to take me probably a year to get what I have. Like it's going to take me a year to sell through that. But fortunately, it was so lucrative on the 10s that, and I had enough of them, and there was a lot of liquidity there that it just put me in the green immediately. So now I just have inventory that I basically have no cost basis in, which is like the optimistic side of what I'm doing. Is over enough time, if I can be consistent for another couple of years, I feel like I'm going to have a shit ton of inventory that's basically already been like, I'm going to be in the black immediately. So it doesn't really matter what I sell it for. So that's kind of like the other side of this. And that's why I think a lot of these guys have been so successful, is they're consistent. That's really as simple as it is. Like it's not doing the sexy thing. It's not like one play made you all this money that put you on this path. They made $1, they made $5, they made $10 every sale for, 3 or 4 years, and they stayed with it.
Yeah, dude, everything. It's everything in life, man. It's obviously you're going to have your celebrities, you're going to have your entrepreneurs, you're going to have the people those one-off stories where people like have crazy things happen. But the majority of people that build wealth in this world, they're in ultra boring careers, doing ultra boring stuff, remaining consistent with it, waking up every day, doing the same thing. And it just builds, right? I mean, like some of the richest people you'll meet will be like, well, what do you do? Oh, I make these little components that go in all these parts of this thing and I sell it to all these different companies. It's like, oh, okay. Or, I mean, you ever think about the people who make like the Chinese to-go boxes? Like that company, they just sell these Chinese to-go boxes to every Chinese restaurant. Or, I mean, it's like all these like little stupid things you don't think of. Like those are the people that are just making consistent money. They sell the same stuff. They get reused. It's like it has to keep getting used every day. But I think that's the same thing in this Pokemon space. It's just it gets just all. I mean that's kind of why I kind of try to get out of that side of things and really focus my attention on the content side. Where I still do grading, but I definitely focus on a lot more of really making sure like if I can find the cards in person at card shops or really good pictures. Like I'm not buying as much like mass grading anymore. So I don't have like tons of singles to flip back on the market and tons of, cards that I'm having to sift through and pre-grade and all that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just finding what, the spot you want to be in and understanding that like to get to those levels, it just takes time and work and effort.
It takes time, man. And I don't think I know there's so many people that are so divisive, and it's just life. It's not even just like in the space. It's just about everything. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think if you like single cards and you like sealed, like whatever you like, man, as long as you're consistent with it, I think you'll be okay. Not to say that like that's the only thing that matters, but if you're consistent over a long period of time, you're probably going to do all right. So I totally agree.
Well, I made the title Pokemon Market Volatility in 2024. I kind of wanted to talk to you about that a little bit. Like, what effect do you think it's going to have on all this? Because there's a lot of people doing this, right? There's a lot of people grading now, taking advantage of this type of stuff. I mean, I see it. And right now it's working really well because there's so much volatility, right? I mean, the alt arts are spiking and then now they're coming down. The trainer galleries, now people are moving money back to XY, Sun and Moon, Scarlet Violet starting to pop off. It seems like there's always something real. Like and not just like movement. There's always movement in markets, but it seems like there's a lot of intense movement happening seemingly every month, every week. Like there's always something going on. Like, do you think, and this is, we don't know what's going to happen, but like if towards the end of this year, into next year, that the volatility kind of slowed down and there were less massive spikes and drops and things, what effect do you think that's going to have on all of this?
I have no idea, man. I mean, the market volatility is good for half the people and it's bad for half the people. So like there's some people that are making money on that, and there's some people that are having to pay a lot more for what they want. But at the end of the day, the collectors who are like really against people making money in the hobby, that's so stupid. Like people are, I used to think of like what I was doing was basically an arbitrage play. It's not. Like this is a service-based business. I am doing a shit ton of work to give you the collectible that you want in the grade that you want. And if I make a mistake, then I lose money. And then I sell a shitty grade card on eBay and it goes for bid for $7.50. And they're happy because they got basically, they didn't even have to pay for a grading fee, and they just basically paid the raw price of the card. So I think like the volatility though right now it's just like the stock market. I mean, you just stay in and you'll catch those volatile pumps and dumps. I don't think it's anything I don't think there's anything weird going on. I don't think there's like any crazy manipulation. I mean, there could be, but I just think people get weird about things, and then they're all like you said earlier, I think it's a bandwagon thing more than anything. Like one guy makes a video about a Gengar VMAX being the best card, and then like I said earlier, there's no market depth in Pokemon, so it doesn't take very long for the $380 listing to be gone, and then now the cheapest is $400, and then the next one is $420, and then somebody like me gets 2 or 3 of those back in from grading, and I'm like, okay, great, I'm going to undercut that guy. I'll go down to $410, and then those immediately get bought out, and then you're back at $420. So I don't know. I think it's just normal swings.
Yeah, the whole buyout, market manipulation, like pump and dump thing. It's just like I get it's fun, make content, you get to make a video, you get to show some charts and, stir the pot and get, people that get active in the comment section. But if people really think like that's what's all that's happening in this hobby, it's just like, here's what I always say to that. Sure, I'm sure you can go out there and find cards that have like spiked and then given back all those gains and came back to where they were. There's always instances, but for the most part, we all talking generalities here. For the most part, whenever cards have those, huge upticks, usually when they do give some back, they settle at a higher low, right? And for cards to settle at a higher low means there has to be enough underlying demand there to keep the price afloat after the pump and dump or the manipulation or the buyout. So that's where I always come back to with it.
Yeah, and what did Pokemon print? 11 billion cards this year? Like, dude, you're not buying out. I understand there's, of course, not anywhere close to that of like these nice cards that people actually want. But there's, I don't know. Yeah, you're right, though. I mean, these cards get bought out. You see a short-term price rally because there's just no depth in the market. And then a bunch of people say, holy shit, the Gengar's worth $700 now. I'll sell it. Fuck it. Why not? And then it comes back down a bit. And then it settles out. But then you have enough people that put it on their watch list and they have a number in their head. And they're like, when it gets to 600, I'm buying it. And then that kind of becomes the new floor.
So what I seen people in the chat talking about like low pop cards. Do you go chasing after those low pop cards ever?
Dude, so I don't chase them, but I just had one. And so I bought this card on bid. It was a Hariyama from like EX Emerald, 2004, 2005. Not a popular Pokemon, not a crazy good looking card, but it was perfect condition. And like I said, I'm just kind of an opportunist. If I'm on my computer and I see something that I'm like, I know I can grade a 10 and it's 20 years old, I'll buy it for $5.
What's the population?
4. There's 4. There's literally 4 in a PSA 10. And I'm like, dude, I put that shit on my eBay at like $500. And there is no data. Like there is zero data. The card, there's no like last sold. There's no other listing. So like, that's one of the things that's really cool about Pokemon too, right? Like this side of it is that if some person is building out a PSA 10 set of EX Emerald, I mean, dude, I'm getting paid. Like that's your only option. So, and most likely somebody who really wanted that card would probably send me a message and be like, hey man, would you do $200? Be like, no, but thanks for your interest. Most people are willing to move and work. And I don't chase low population cards. But like, if the opportunity's there, then for sure. I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I've done it with a couple. So like I had the Groudon from Double Crisis, XY Double Crisis. It's like a single. I think it's like a double digit pop report. It's real low, but yeah, that one I did really good on. And then like I went after the Silver Dialgas from Phantom Forces for a while, and I don't know, probably graded about 10 of them if I could think. But I did get 110, and it's a card I literally bought on eBay auction for $200, and it ended up selling for $3,500. And so it's like those plays are out there if you want to chase them, but they're just so few and far between that, like, it's almost the same thing as going for a black label. I feel like it's very similar to going for, if you can either go the low pop route and try to hit that, or you can like just get a mass printed card and just go for the black label. I feel like it's the same type of, come up either way.
Yeah. And I don't do the black label thing at all. I've submitted through BGS one time, and I was trying to do just kind of an arbitrage between PSA and BGS and trying to get a better understanding of how they actually do crossgrade. And I got crushed. I sent in a PSA 9 first edition Lugia, and it came back as a BGS 8.5. And I was like, yeah. So I cracked it, and then I cracked the BGS and sent it back to PSA, and it came back as a PSA 8. And I'm like, dude, that was like $1,000, not including the premium tier. So I lost. Basically, I just gave away a Lugia. So yeah, I mean, there's like the other side too. Is like you experiment around, try and figure things out and learn, and you got to pay your tuition, man. It's time and money.
I have my first Beckett submission ever right now there. So
are you doing the black label thing?
I'm trying for some black labels. I just sent 2 cards because I was at my local card shop, and I've graded thousands of cards as well. It's like, and these are some of the most perfect cards I've ever seen, like centering wise, front and back, not a thing wrong. So I found one of the Chonkachu, the Rainbow Pikachus, and the Rainbow Charizard from Champion's Path. So I sent those to them. It's like I'm gonna roll the dice. Like, what's the worst that happens? They come back pristines. Like, so I was looking like pristines are still better than PSA 10s. And if they come back 9.5s, I'll just crack them and send them to PSA. Like, it's like a guaranteed PSA 10 the way they look. But I just wanted to try it out a couple times, and if it goes well, I'll start trying it out more. But I mean, it's so hard when you see so many videos or you hear so many stories, and everyone's got a different story. Some people, make it sound like, oh, I get black labels all the time. Other people make it sound like, well, I've sent like hundreds of cards. I've never got one black label. So you just never know till you try it yourself.
I think if I was going to try black label, I would do like something Japanese, because the quality is much better generally. And then I would do it in a sealed promo, like the Detected Pikachu in Japanese. It's like $20 maybe. I'd buy that. I'd send in like 20 of them if they look like PSA 10s. Every single one of those I've sent in has gotten a PSA 10. That would be like a good black label play to me. But I just don't. I don't want to do that. I don't know why. I mean, I'm not against it. I just feel like I'm trying too many different things right now, and that's just not. Yeah. That's pretty low on my totem pole.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, most people know I don't really follow the Japanese market, but have you looked up any of those plays and seen like what the margins are compared to PSA 10 to a black label on Japanese cards?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's funny that we're talking about this because last night was like my first deeper dive into the rabbit hole of kind of considering it. And it is that Detective Pikachu. You guys try it out. I'm not going to do it, but somebody should try it. I think that would be a good play. But if you buy,
what are they?
They're
like, do you remember what the black labels were selling for?
Oh yeah, they were like $500, but a PSA 10 is like $60 or $70, and it's like you can basically, if you hit 1 out of 10, you break even. If you hit 2 out of 10, you're in really good shape.
That sounds about the same margin, because like the ones I sent, like the Pikachu selling for like low 200s in a PSA 10, but then black label, actually I couldn't even find any sales, like, because there's only one listed at like 10 grand. There's no like recent sales, but I've seen other sales in the past for in the thousands. And then the Charizard, same type of thing. It's like 200 and something in a 10, but then the black label, it's over 2,000. So it seems like black labels have about a 10x plus margin.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like that is one of those things that's not going to go away overnight, but I feel like it, in my mind, if there was going to be something that would be like super high risk, it'd be a black label. I damn sure wouldn't buy one. I mean, dude, I've shaken a card in a case and it's gotten whitening. So like it may be a black label as soon as that label is slapped on there, but when it ships home to you, it might not be. Like I would never, even if I had all the money, I would not buy black labels. I would not pay that premium.
So going back when you got back into Pokemon, did you get back in like just to invest, or were you like a collector at all?
I mean, it was definitely like everything I do. And this is the other thing that kind of pisses me off about like the investors bad kind of thing. It's like, dude, obviously I fucking like Pokemon or I wouldn't be putting money into it. Like if it was just about the money, I just do like more of the normal things. But, you know, it was not just about the money. It was like, dude, I enjoy this stuff and I can make money. Of course I'm interested. Like my goal
The reason I asked is, have you ran into that at all lately? Like wanting to keep things to collect, but knowing you need to flip them?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I was talking to my wife today in the car, and I'm like, I honestly feel like this is a really good way for me to collect, is to just basically my business owns everything. But like until they sell, like I get to enjoy something. If it's super illiquid and I don't really care if it sells, like I'm going to make a lot of money on it when I eventually do sell it, because somebody's going to have to pay the premium that I'm asking. And then like in the interim is my time of owning that. So like my investments are my collection, and it's just a fluid collection, which is a really fun. I mean, dude, they're trading cards. It's in the damn name. Like they're trading cards. Like I'm trading up every time is kind of, so yeah, my personal collection is my inventory, and my inventory is my collection. And I don't think like my goal is not to cash flow on this business to where I can just stop working. My goal, like, even though I think that if I can stay consistent, I'll get there to where like the money, it would be justifiable to stop my day job. But my goal is to basically never take any money out of the business. Like I just want to keep buying more cards. My goal is to just turn one cards into two over and over again.
Yeah.
So like my investments are my collection. And I feel like a lot of people probably resonate with that, but I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that.
I've really been getting, I got caught up. I got caught up recently. Like I definitely got caught up in collecting again. And I'm kind of coming down from the high lately. I'm starting to move some of my collection, I would call it. And I mean, even behind me, like even these video games, I've been looking at closer. I'm like, man, maybe I need to get rid of these. I'm looking at what they're going for. I'm like, how much could all that money be used for in the hobby? I could do this, make this play. And so I've definitely been taking a closer look lately, because and honestly, what it stemmed from is everyone kept asking me, Alex, do a collection video. What kind of cards you have in your collection? So I did a full collection video. And after that video, it really kind of like hit me finally, like, dang, I got like tens of thousands wrapped up in these slabs and these, like all this stuff. I'm like, which I just like collected. This isn't even part of my inventory or anything. And I started thinking like, you know what, I need to probably go audit this and go through it and see what I can do else with this money. So yeah, I mean, that is the constant line we walk, because yeah, like you said, all the, the random hate, like, oh, the investors don't care about Pokemon, it's all about money. It's just like, no, if it was like that, this would make this so much easier. I wish it was just about the money.
Yeah, I mean, the people, to go back on that again, and like the people who are really against the investing, like I understand people being upset if somebody goes to Walmart and fills a shopping cart up with stuff. Like people who are buying shit from Walmart and saying they're investing, I mean, dude, they're like you it's like buying penny stocks and saying you invest. It's not.
Or buying like a fractional share.
Yeah, exactly. So like I'm not advocating for that, or like the crazy shit that was happening during COVID. That was unfortunate. But when there's enough people out there that are doing what you did earlier in the year and what I'm doing now, and there's plenty of other people that are grading at like a mass scale, especially with the new stuff coming out, like you guys want cheap tens. Well, we're the ones giving you cheap tens because we're constantly competing with each other, constantly becoming the new lowest list on eBay. So if you want to build out like an alt art collection for cheap, dude, you can buy some really great cards right now for nothing. And like the Groudon and Tyranitar, the Japanese version of those in a PSA 10 is cheaper than the English raw. I'm not shitting you. Like the Groudons and Tyranitar, they're like $40 PSA 10s in Japanese. So yeah, there's like a lot of Like people aren't making a lot of money on grading unless they're doing a lot of volume on grading, or they're getting like really lucky collection buys. And I've never had one of those. Mine is just very small margin, churning a lot of volume.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things I was trying to like drill through people's heads that were new to the hobby that didn't understand, they kind of came in the last couple of years during the Japanese boom. And, just because I'm not a Japanese collector and I don't particularly like the cards, like to collect, like it's not my thing, I immediately got labels. Oh, you're just hating on Japanese. Oh, classic Alex. And it's like, no, guys, the reason that Japanese cards have always been worth less in slabs than English. And when they all spiked in the last couple of years and they were actually being worth more, I'm like, this isn't right. And the reason is because the quality's way too good. Every Japanese collector and flipper knows this. And they're so easy to grade in PSA 10s. That's why they're so much cheaper than English. When everything was like going crazy and they were being like valued as much as English, people were saying, well, they should be worth more. English ones are this expensive. We need to, and it's like, there's a reason for that. That's what I think people are finally coming back down to earth with, is realizing, oh, the reason that slabs are really cheap is because, they have a 90% 10 rate. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's all going to change. And like, this will affect me because I buy a lot from Japan. But PSA is in Japan now. So these guys that you buy 20 copies of a $3 card on right now, I mean, dude, there is now, PSA now has a headquarters in Japan. Japanese folks are going to start grading their cards. I don't think that in 2 or 3 years, like what we have now even will probably dry up. And it's,
well,
and that's
you
like,
cross your fingers and hope they grade as bad as New Jersey.
Yeah. Yeah. But that'll affect a lot of people who are heavy into Japanese. So, but yeah, I mean,
have you noticed that at all? Have you like, I know it's all conspiracy and everyone's got their own opinion, but it seems like every time I have the submission come back from New Jersey, it's worse than when they come back from California.
I've never submitted through New Jersey.
Well, no, you send them to California, but they'll reroute it, like, because they have that new office. And every time it comes back, they send it to New Jersey and it comes from them. They always grade it harsher every time.
Oh, interesting. No, I haven't. I know that I haven't gotten a submission back from New Jersey though, because I always have I track my shipments through FedEx, and it's always leaving California.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
Hopefully it just keeps going that way.
Yeah, hopefully.
No, I haven't heard that though.
Yeah, it's crazy. So okay, so I mean, so what 150? You said 151 UPCs, and what else was the other thing? Crown Zenith. So you're still starting to like keep some sealed. I mean, are you going to continue to try to like take a percentage and put it in sealed, or is it you're going to try to just keep the money going towards the flips?
I think it's going to just be until I can build up the like foundation that I want and feel like really comfortable with. Then like I feel like I need to keep moving the money around. But the question, like you said earlier, is like, is that box of Crown Zenith going to appreciate faster than me flipping a couple of cards? So that's the other side of it. And that's like just the constant back and forth and get in your head about it. And you're sitting behind a computer screen trying to figure this shit out, and you second guess yourself, and then you make a decision, and then you wish you didn't do it. So that's where I'm at. Like, I don't know if, 151, I'd be very surprised if 151 doesn't get a reprint. But I'd also be surprised if the UPCs get a reprint. I think the ETBs will get a reprint for sure. And I hope the booster bundles, that should be what they should just send booster bundles out like crazy.
I'm right there with you.
But the UPCs, like, I feel pretty good about holding on to those. Crown Zenith, I feel really good about holding on to that. So
I got to put you on the spot though, right? Because I asked this to like, and you've done both. So that's why I really wanted to ask you, because I asked this to a lot of the Pokemon card flippers and businesses, and don't really get a good answer, right? So let me throw this at you. You're putting all the money, working it right back into business, flipping, right? Are you investing money elsewhere right now?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, so like, that's why I'm being like very strict about my allocation in Pokemon. Like, I am very heavy into crypto. And then I have like my very safe, like smart people or
perfect. No, that's just what I wanted to hear. That's the exact answer I wanted to hear. So why not out of the business? The business is a flipping. Why not put any of your, if you believe in Pokemon and you think the gains are going to stay the same as they have been, why wouldn't some of your other money that you put into investments go into Pokemon investments as well?
It's opportunity cost. Like I have
Well,
such a high conviction.
no. What I'm saying though is the money that you're investing. So instead of putting it all into crypto or S&P index or mutual funds, why not put any of that investment money into Pokemon outside of the business? It's your investment.
Because I have an extremely high conviction that we're going into a crypto bull run in the next 12 months. And I think the returns in crypto are going to make Pokemon gains look stupid. And then that will be a very short-term thing. So this is basically just a big swing trade that I've been building a position in since I sold off my collection is really when I started. I used a lot of 2021's crypto money to build. That's when I really ramped up a lot of my collection. That was I was into the GameStop. I was buying crypto, and I've been into crypto since 2016. Where I'm at now, like I've studied these more, and I could be wrong. I'm not telling anybody to do this, and I'm happy to die on this hill because obviously my money's where not obviously, nobody knows that I'm even telling the truth, but my money is where my mouth is. Like a huge percentage of my net worth is now in crypto, and it's not in Bitcoin. Like I'm fully prepared for altcoin season, and I'm very early on it. I think we'll see a move in Bitcoin first, but there's some high conviction plays that I have that will allow me, if I'm right, then I will come back into Pokemon and I will seed the business with what I really would like to do. And
that's a really good answer. Like that makes perfect sense. Like, cause the answer I give for, a lot of people just isn't they don't have a really good answer, right? Because I'll ask people, I'll say, okay, so everything in Pokemon is you agree is better to be flipped and constantly, rinse and repeat. And they say, yeah, I don't want to be holding any investment. I say, okay, great. So you're not investing in stocks or anything else, right? Oh, well, no, I invest in this or invest in that. Okay. So didn't we just, and we've already talked about didn't we just agree that you agree that, Pokemon games are going to probably stay relatively the way they are. And they're probably going to, you're going to see boxes go from $80, $90 to $200 in probably 3, 4, 5 years. Oh yeah, for sure. Okay. So why would you not invest your investment money into Pokemon instead of these other, indexes or things you're putting your money? And that's what always stumps a lot of the full-time flippers. With you have another thing. You have Bitcoin you think is going to outperform Pokemon. But a lot of people, they'll literally tell you, oh no, I think Pokemon Seal will outperform. But then they'll say, but I don't invest in it because I want to flip my Pokemon money. It's like, no, take the Pokemon flipping business out of it. If you have extra money that you have from your income you make from that business and you're going to put it to work somewhere, why not off to the side still buy Pokemon product if you think it's going to still outperform? It's this brain block I feel like people get in because it's all Pokemon and they don't feel like they can have any off to the side because it's all got to be flipped. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but to stand up for that hypothetical guy we're talking about, I would say my response, if you challenged me with that and I was in that situation, I would have said, well, the reason that Pokemon returns are higher is because it is more risky. Yes, we've seen, we've got really good data to say, this will probably continue. There's never been a box that sells for less than it's worth over a long enough period of time, or MSRP over a long enough period of time. And it probably will continue to outperform the S&P 500. So,
well, what about this? Here, let's take Pokemon out of it. All right. This will be a better comparison. All right. Let's say you're a day trader or you work on Wall Street in a hedge fund, right? And your money's all wrapped up in your trading account, your plays, right? Why would you ever, if you know that you've been trading, you've been doing this successfully for 5-10 years, why wouldn't all your money just continue to be wrapped up into the new plays? Why would you invest in anything long-term in the market if you know it underperforms?
Because that guy in the back of his mind knows that one day he's going to be wrong and he'll lose the fucking farm. And you never bet the farm. That's why.
All right. That's fair. No, I just always look at it as for Pokemon sellers, this is your income. It's well, everyone's got an income, maybe you're a teacher, maybe you're a doctor, lawyer, whatever. That's your income. And you take money out of your income to invest. And I just feel well, it's just because you run a Pokemon business doesn't change anything. It's that's your income. You're going to take some out. You put some in some crypto, some in some index funds, some in some Pokemon. It's all just investments outside of your income. But for some reason, if you invest in Pokemon and you also run a Pokemon business, there seems to be too much overlap where people I can't let it sit there. I can flip it. But it's you don't tell yourself, well, the market's high right now. I could sell my 401k and put it into a bonds right now. And I could trade that and flip that. You don't ever think about that. You think long-term. it's just, I don't know. It's always strange to me. People won't think long-term with Pokemon investing because they always think it can be flipped, but we don't think about that with like,
I don't think people think about long-term anything, man. Like the only reason people can retire with dignity in America is because there's an employer imposed 401k that gives people a match. And when our parents were growing up, they had pensions. But like people are irresponsible, people are short-minded, they're not going to play the long game. And like all of these things, if you do it right, like that should be why people who understand that and can implement it and have the discipline to stay on that track can outperform other people. So like it is very much a PvP environment. It's just one of the things I really like about all this. Like this is PvP. This is not a role-playing game. Like this is, I mean, I've heard you say before, like that doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. Like there could be somebody that you sell something to and then they sell it to somebody else and they make money as well. But eventually the buck stops. And it might be 20 years from now. We don't have an example of it. It hasn't happened. And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it will happen. It might be 200 years from now. Maybe a nuke gets dropped in 2026. You know, something will happen eventually that will change that. But, you know, make hay while the sun's up. And we haven't seen that yet. And I don't think we're going to anytime soon. But like the stock market, crypto, selling online, like this PvP, man. I'm going against Dan Catch-em-all Collectibles. The guy's a monster. I can't compete with him. He probably does have that preferred pricing with PSA, and he's doing the consignment thing, super smart. But like I have to be the lowest. There's no brand loyalty on eBay. People don't buy from Steve. They buy from eBay, and they buy the lowest. They buy the highest grade and the lowest price. Like they buy what they want at the cheapest price. So that's the environment that we operate in.
Oh man, that's funny. I'm sure. I guess Dan's not in the chat. I'm sure if he was, he would have popped up when he heard his name.
I think I mentioned his name a couple times every time I've been on the live. But yeah, that's like going back to the community thing again too. It's like when you were at Collecticon, you've been to one, right? Or have you been to multiple now?
I've been to I guess just two. I've only been to two, but I'm going to Kansas City here in like 3 weeks. I'll be in Jersey and I'll be in Chicago. So by the end of the year, I'll be at 5 total.
Nice. So when you go, are you seeing a lot of people that you know or know you, or is it just like, that would be something that I'm curious about. Like how big is obviously the hobby's huge, right? But how many people actually know who you are?
You know what's really funny? So last year, not a ton, but definitely, you know, I definitely had people walking up wanting to take pictures, you know, definitely recognized me. I knew people vending, but I'll shout out Nick, Pokemon Plumber, if he's listening. He's out in Jersey and he tells me all the time, he's like, yeah, dude, like I'll go to local shows all the time and people will call me out and be like, hey, you're from a Nostalgianomics stream. I'm like, that's crazy, dude. He's like, so I'm telling you, man, out here, a lot of people know you. So I'm anxious to see this year, now that the channel's grown a little bit, how many more people like that I end up like knowing or know me at these places. But last year it was very few. I would say like less than 20, 30 people the whole time I was there.
Yeah, that's still pretty cool. I feel like that's kind of the like where I want to get it. Not like to the level that content creators are, but just to where like there were like maybe a few people in my phone that I could call and be like, hey man, I'm trying to offload some sealed product. Do you need it?
They know Alex for all the wrong reasons.
Are you still driving wedges?
I don't know, man. I just work here. No, what were you trying to say? That you're trying to offload sealed product?
Well, that was just like an example, but having those connections in the hobby could be super beneficial, and it would make the hobby more enjoyable too. I think, you know, just having that community.
Yeah,
but I guess that's where it could also get dangerous.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I mean, then it starts becoming like, oh, okay, you're in a clique and everybody kind of thinks this. If I'm part of the clique, then I probably think this too. Are you running with the herd? You know,
yeah, I mean, honestly, man, like, not to go all cabal on people, right? But I mean, that's where that whole thing started, right? Is the cliquey stuff in this hobby? Like, that's where that whole meme type started, and it does seem like that. It's like, well, you get, you know, kind of comfortable and in this group, and well, all the people in this group are kind of saying and doing and feeling the same way, and you don't want to like really talk outside of that and really talk down, you know, your friends or friends of friends and stuff. And it almost puts you in a box, you know, it seems like. And that's that's one thing. Like I'm the same way as you. I don't want to be in a box. Like I want to be able to say, you know, one way or the other. And sometimes it's going to be agreeing with you. Sometimes it's not. And sometimes it's going to be out of left field. And sometimes I'm going to be wrong. Sometimes I'll be right. But, you know, you definitely don't want to get to the point where you're afraid to like go against people or make plays that are like against what other people's plays are doing and like be angry at each other because you made money and they lost money. Like that's the last thing you want to do.
Yeah.
But you want to make sure you're talking with people that are like just like cool either way, and they want you to keep it 100 with them no matter if it's good or bad. That's who you want to be around.
Right. Yeah, and I think I haven't lost anybody money, but maybe I just made somebody money. I wonder if anybody's bought any sealed Detective Pikachu promos and have started to look into that play. But I feel like that'd be a good one, man. If I was going to do the black label thing, I'd do that.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see how they come. I do want to start looking like harder because, like, you know, I pre-grade pretty decently, but like, you know, with PSA, you have they do definitely grade easier than a black label, but I'm definitely going to try and pick out before I send grades into PSA. I'm going to go through them one more time and be like, do any of these have a black label chance? Because I mean, you know, just here's the thing. Like, okay, if you hit a 9.5, yeah, maybe you lose a little money than you would have got out of 10. But with a pristine, most of the pristines are still selling for more than 10s. And black labels are absolute home runs. So it's just like, well, how many of these are going to be pristines? I'm going to actually do better. And then one black label out of every, 20, 30 cards is an absolute home run, and it pays for all the tries that you had. So, I mean, I understand it making sense, right?
Yeah, no, I do too. I get it. I just don't want to do that. But I do see it. And the reason I wouldn't want to do it is really because of liquidity. Like I feel like I'm already exploring enough things right now. And if I was willing to take some more money and put it into the Pokemon flipping business that I'm doing, then I would explore it. But like where I'm at right now, any discretionary dollars I have nothing's going back into the Pokemon. The business is just cycling capital. That's what it's got.
Hey, everyone, if you guys want to ask any questions, leave them in the chat now. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. We've been going for an hour. I'm not going to scroll back and read the whole chat. So if you let the question, just like copy paste it, send it again. I will take them from here on. But so we'll take those. But so I guess one of the other questions I wanted to ask is, kind of like you talked about those Obsidian Flames, product you're sitting on, or if you grade a bunch of Ancient Muse you're sitting on it, or whatever you're sitting on. Do you ever, think about just like blowing them out, like putting a sale on them, or sending a few to auction? Like, do you ever like think about that to clear up capital and get more liquid, or do you just want to keep that where it is?
No, I definitely do, because I'm buying more all the time. Like I'm always buying. That's the one thing that I stopped buying for like 3 weeks, and it created like a slinky effect. And I stopped buying because I was super busy with work and I just had a lot of shit going on and I just really didn't have the time. But it created a big slinky. So like I need to keep buying. That's like what I would say. That's probably why most people that are running a business, they need that cash flow. You really do have to have that cash flow, because you have to be buying things to bring in more money so you can grade more and sell more. And it sucks though, because like we talked about earlier, I'm grading things. Like I might have 10 copies of a card that I really like the Latias GG20 from Crown Zenith. Dude, it's a $2 card and it grades 10. It's a almost $100 card. It's hard as shit to grade. There's like 190 of them in a PSA 10. So if I'm ruining somebody's play, then don't really
care. This is English, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've graded probably 20 of those. And I'm like, dude, the margin is so good on a 10. Like I have to take that 100. I have to take the $100.
How many 10s do you think you've gotten?
20. But I've graded in total probably 100. And I've probably bought like 500 now. I mean, no shit. I have bought a fuck ton of this card, and the margin is still there. And there's probably not one on eBay right now, to be honest.
Why are you blowing out your play?
Because I have so many cards of this now. Like like this play, like I can't continue to add to the depth of that play. And so I'm torn, right? Like it's $100 PSA 10. It's basically a $100 bill if I sell it. Like it's almost pure profit. But like I also want to hold on to it, because I'm like, dude, Crown Zenith's been out for a long time now, and there's only 200 of these in a PSA 10. it's going to do something one day. Like that would be a card I'd like to sit on. But I'm also like, well, I got to keep buying more shit for the store. So I do need to do an auction block. And one of those is going to hit the auction block, and I'm going to sell it because I need to. I need that $100. So that is like it's tricky, man. I would like to do both, but with the amount of capital that I've allocated myself for this little venture, like I do have to keep things moving just because like I literally spend the money before I have it. I'm always a month behind. So I leverage the credit card, I max out a credit card, and then I'm like, okay, now I need $10,000 in sales this month to pay that balance. And I'm not willing to transfer money in to pay that balance. So like, yeah, I need to blow out some inventory.
And it's always, you've always made it. You've always made it every month. And you've always made it.
I've never missed, but I've had to sell more than I wanted to. And I'm like, okay, lesson learned. Like maybe not buy 50 fucking cases of Obsidian Flames. Maybe just buy like 5 because I can't get through all those Charmanders anyways.
Well, you said you just bought a bunch of Crown Zenith. So Taylor asked, what do you think about the Crown Zenith booster bundles?
I mean, yeah, dude, I think it's a wonderful set. I think it's kick ass. I think it's great. And if you bought in, and like 6 months ago around that reprint, I mean, dude, I was buying Crown Zenith booster box or booster ETB cases for like $340 a piece. And I felt really good about that. I had a lot of conviction in that price point. And I think Crown Zenith would be fantastic.
What do you think about the booster bundles? Like,
I think they're awesome, dude. I would like to have them. And like, if you can buy them by the case, they come in 12, I think. I've never even seen one in person, but I imagine they're like, like a tray of brownies. They're not big. So you could almost booster box that and cut down on your storage, because UPCs and ETBs, we've talked about this before, but I am not a big fan of them, even though like with Crown Zenith, I have a lot of them. And the Obsidian Flames, I was breaking it all down. But like storing that in a closet, man, it takes up a lot of space. So the booster bundles, if you're buying them by the case, I mean, I think it's pretty dang, like 151. If there wasn't a premium on it, that would be the way to go.
Closet, dude, you got to dedicate a whole room to it. Come on.
Yeah, I have a 2-bedroom house, so that's not happening.
Look at Reed just showing the love, man. Steve is that dude I'm always stoked to see him on the stream.
Thanks, man.
Sorry, man. Every time I have you on.
If that's your picture, if that's really you, you're a handsome lad.
Let's see here. What do we got going on here? Is there a Pokemon stock you can invest in? Would that be would that be the compromise? A Pokemon stock? I mean,
dude, I've owned Nintendo stock for a long time and it never did a damn thing. But I just wanted to own Nintendo stock because I'm like, dude, that's pretty cool. I didn't do any research on it, didn't understand the fundamentals. I'm like, dude, it's Nintendo. I'm in. And that was basically just dead money for a long time. And I sold it maybe a year ago. But
what does Steve do? Steve is I don't know, Steve, you answer that question. I was going to make up some ridiculous story, but
I do something super. I do something that like I definitely didn't set out to do, but I enjoy it a lot. I sell raw building materials. So I'm the regional sales manager for a publicly traded company, and we just sell building materials. But before this, I was in the Marine Corps.
Just like we talked about before, those good old stable, just jobs everyone needs.
Yep.
Nothing. It's funny. Like a lot of those are just, that's where the money's made, and it's just not the sexy things you'll see on Instagram, right?
Yeah, I mean, those guys are making money on you. You are the product.
Why can a booster box be expensive, but the singles are so cheap? Evolution, celebrations, base sets. Jay, it's just because the booster boxes, they're kind of valued off the collectability of themselves and the scarcity on the market and things like that. Whereas the cards are valued the same way, but every time boxes are open, there's more cards and there's less boxes. So it's like the singles, you're always fighting against them in supply, and the boxes, it's always like you're always fighting against them where the supply is running away from you because it's getting lower and lower. So it's like, that's why boxes can actually continue to appreciate where singles can actually go stagnant. That's my answer to that. Would you agree?
Yeah. So like to Alex, I think I talked about this with your audience, like the first stream we did, but the expected value, you have never been able to open boxes, like even like Magic. You've never been able to open boxes and make money. Like obviously somebody's going to roast me in the comments, be like, bro, I pulled a $500 card. Yeah, you got lucky. But if you open enough boxes on release, you will lose money. And you should. Like, there should always be a discrepancy in box price and EV, expected value of the box. And that should continue to widen over time. It always will. Those are the fundamentals. Like, there may be like a short term where that doesn't play out for maybe 6 months, but if you can open money, if you can open boxes and make money, then that's not going to be a thing for very long, because enough people are going to do it. And then guess what? People who are sitting on sealed product are going to be in a pretty good spot. So that's why sealed to me has always been the way to go.
Hey, Brett wants you to pump those altcoins you were talking about. Manipulate.
Do I want to help? Do I want to help you guys lose a bunch of money?
Manipulate that market, bro. We're speaking to 200 people.
I got my bags. Buy Aerodrome.
What is it?
Yeah, look into if you guys are into crypto, look into Aerodrome. Basically, Base is a new ecosystem coming out, and Aerodrome is the liquidity provider of Base. So my thesis, this would actually, I would like somebody to look into this and critique this, maybe in a comment in 2 or 3 days. But yeah, my thesis is that Base will be the next Uniswap. Basically, it's a decentralized exchange, but it's going to on-ramp directly from Coinbase. So instead of having to do all the weird shit with crypto where you have to use some kind of decentralized exchange and transfer your cash to Bitcoin, trade your Bitcoin for USDC, and then send it to MetaMask and do all that complicated shit, Coinbase is going to integrate into the Base network. And then it's basically going to be a very easy on-ramp for all of Coinbase users. And Coinbase has 100 million users. So Aerodrome provides the liquidity for Base. That's my thesis for this bull run, and I am going to die on that hill. So we'll see if it works out.
So you must have a good amount of money in there if you're dying on the hill. All right.
Yeah. Again, don't ever bet the farm, but I have a lot of
conviction. Is that the one you texted me about that one day?
Yep.
I mean, I just threw like 50 grand in just to see.
I hope it works out for you.
Oh, man. All right, so we gave away the crypto plays, guys. We gave the Pokemon plays away. We're giving the crypto plays away. Stick around. It's going to get even better. This is going to be like the next Roaring Kitties stream, all right? We're just going to start. We're just going to latch on to like one crypto and one Pokemon card, and we're just going to pump it to the absolute moon.
Somebody commented, Steve is a corn star. Oh. I was sitting there looking at that comment for like way too long until I said the words. I didn't understand what.
Was it like a while ago? I must have missed it.
It wasn't too long ago, but now that I said it out loud, I feel like an idiot.
Steve, did you try some Lorcana or One Piece, or let's just expand on that question? Do you get into anything else besides Pokemon? No, man. So I liked Magic a lot until probably really the pandemic, but I was buying like mid-era Magic boxes. And I love the artwork of vintage Magic, like Arabian Nights. The Four Horsemen sets are pretty amazing. I think if I would have grown up 10 years earlier, I would have been huge into Magic. More like I probably would have been more like, well, I probably wouldn't have been into Pokemon. I probably would have been hardcore into Magic because I really like the old school Magic, and I have zero connection with it as a kid, but I still like that a lot. But Cryptism, appreciate the super chat, man. We just answered that. I'm sure you heard it. You were here, so I'm sure you heard his answer. Arrow is his answer.
Yeah, good luck.
What happened to the most forgotten set? Celebrations? Is Celebrations now considered the most forgotten set? Is that the dead era?
I don't know, dude, but I still have. That's the one set that I never sold off from when I did my big offload, and it's really not done anything. I could have sold it for $70 a year ago for an ETB, and it's probably still around that now. So I don't know, man. I think Celebrations is going to do really well at some point, but I have a really not a huge position, but I have a pretty sizable position in Celebrations still, and that's going to stay where it's at until I think it's moved to where I'd like to see it. But now at this point, like there's been a lot of other things that have done way better. But I know, like, it's just like picking stocks. Like, it's better to just picking sets, man. Good luck.
I did sell a lot of my UPCs already, so I'm down to just 4 UPCs. So I did take profits on the UPCs, and the 4 I have left are kind of like my just long-term position. I got in on a lot of them like near 200. I sold out of them between 350 and 400. And so I had 20 at one point. Now I'm down to 4, and I'm just kind of comfortable with that. I still have the ETBs. I haven't sold off the ETBs yet. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of like crossing my fingers, thinking about like 30th anniversary, thinking that will be like the next pump for celebrations. But if that doesn't happen, I'll probably just get out of celebrations at that point. Maybe the hits are just, too easy. Like that's one of the things, like my thing with sets, I feel like you need some sort of God tier rarity. And I don't think celebrations has that.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. I mean, you really, that was one of the sets that I actually opened. I'm not somebody who opens sets. I don't have that desire to get in there most of the time. I mean, I like to, but I also just hate to spend, I just don't like to waste the money. I'd rather just buy what I want if I'm going to do that. But I did open celebrations, and yeah, the hits were, I mean, it made you feel good opening the packs. You're like, hey man, Venusaur, there's Charizard, there's Blatt. I mean, and those are the cards that, of course, it's OG reprint. So yeah. I don't know. I feel like that right there, though, like the fact that it is still a relatively affordable. I mean, it's a very affordable set for being 3 years old now.
And Evolutions is kind of at that place where it's too expensive.
There will be a time where that will move. Celebrations will move, and it'll probably be a violent move because that's how markets do. It's not like you get 10% year over year.
Yeah. Pokemon Plumber is in the house. What is up, man? Let's see. Universe is beyond. Talking the Magic talk. So Rudy didn't pull you into the Magic world, huh? You stayed out of it.
No, man. I was into Magic, but I sold it before I sold my Pokemon. I just during the pandemic, I don't know. I like the older stuff, but the new stuff, I mean, yeah, no, I just the new stuff, not me.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. It's like that's how I am. Like right now, like I haven't made this announcement yet, but I mean I've been selling off my One Piece. I made that One Piece play, and like just going through my like auditing stuff. I'm looking at stuff. I'm just like, well, one, I have zero connection to that game. 2, I just took like a random flyer on it. I'm just like, you know what? Here, I'll start buying some, and I'm not gonna put a ton of money in it, but if it goes crazy, it'll be great. And it did go crazy. And so I've been selling off the remainder of pretty much everything I had in One Piece, slowly but surely. And because it's had ups and downs, and now it's Bandai seems like they're starting to do their normal thing where they're starting to have reprints and they're being really unclear about what they're doing, and more product keeps appearing in the market, some here, some UK, and it seems like things are starting to stagnate. I could be wrong. Maybe One Piece is another absolute go to the moon thing. But to me, it just feels like some of that steam's wearing off. So I dumped that stuff. But other than that, I mean, I have a very small amount of Yu-Gi-Oh! I went in on the 25th anniversary stuff. Some of the boxes are flat, a little up. The Legend of Blue Eyes and the Legendary Collection, those are doing really well for me. But other than those things, everything else is going to be Pokemon for me. So,
yeah. I have a question, Alex.
Yeah.
Are those games behind you sealed?
No.
Damn, dude.
Complete in box. Now they do have everything in them, all the booklets and everything, and they're all if you know what like an H seam is, so like they're all like the H seam where
US versions.
Yeah, it's like more sought after. And then like even like the trading card game, it's got the sealed Meowth in it still. So like, I've thought about I've had people tell me, actually Pokemon Plumber told me I should just grade them and just grade them complete in box and sell them that way because I think probably get a premium. But they're all in pretty decent shape and complete. So, but no, not sealed. What happened was I had no like even thought to even collect those, right? But when I was like, maybe like 2017, 18, when I was like really deep in the flipping and really things like that before boom happened. I was buying out like video game lots too. And I was buying, I was like getting like NES games, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, all that. And I bought out this huge lot. It was like a $400 or $500 lot at the time. And it had like 6 or 7 of these in it. And it had like some strategy guides in those. So I'm just like, well, instead of flip these for a profit, I'm just going to flip everything else. And I'm just going to buy the ones that I'm missing and kind of complete them all. And that's what I did. And I've kept them ever since. So I've had all these for probably 6-7 years now.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, that's really what got me started on this whole like nerdy alternative investments. I was buying sealed video games. That was really, and I had, I'm making enlisted Marine Corps pay. So I'm like getting no money, but when I did have money, that's what I was really going after. I loved sealed video games. It's like my first step into this.
What is this? Another investing channel? No, this is the investing channel. It's kind of like the Ohio State University. This is the investing channel. All right. Every other channel is another investing channel.
Could be a firearms channel.
Oh no, we're gonna get back to that.
Hello,
dude. Why don't you just throw those kind of videos up every now and then? Like, you don't have to be like a quote unquote content creator, but like, you got the channel, you might as well just start throwing up random videos every now and then.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've always wanted to. So yeah, maybe I will one day when I have the courage, build up the testicular fortitude to do it.
That's that sales talk right there.
Is it? I don't think I could say that to somebody.
Dude, that was like, when we have our sales meetings, that'd always be the thing. Like, you need to develop that intestinal fortitude to be able to sit there and, like, oh man, the sales managers always have those things to say to you.
Well, fortunately, I manage a region and not people. So
there you go. It feels like Pokemon is the only one that has their shit together amongst all the other TCGs. You know what?
I don't disagree. That. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, Magic damn sure doesn't. I don't disagree with that at all. I think, like I had said at the beginning of the stream, I think the way they're releasing old school Pokemon slowly as an alt art into these new sets, super smart. There's like, everybody wants the new Ghastly AR. Like, that's a nice card.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think the way they're doing it,
they're the most consistent. They get it. I mean, and as much as people want to act like they don't look at the secondary market, I think that's a lie. I mean, I think they pay close attention to everything. I think they make sure that, the boxes and the cards are within the price ranges they want them to be at for the time they want them to be at. I mean, after 2, 3, 4 years, I don't think they care anymore. But I think in that first 2, 3 years, they're watching it closely. Like, people say, well, why are they reprinting anything? Why would they? The boxes are selling for like $95 to $110. None of the cards are out of reach. I mean, look at like Paldea, or maybe you got the Magikarp, and I don't know, but look at like Obsidian Flames. The Charizard's under $50. Look at base set. All the cards are $20, $30. Like, everything's really cheap, really affordable. Why would they be reprinting this stuff if they don't need to?
No, they've got the sauce figured out. They really don't need to fuck with it. I mean, that's what Magic really went wrong with their reprint policy, and they just wanted to have the players. I mean, I played Magic in 2023 for the first time, and I went to an LGS, and my wife was like, okay. And I was like, sweet, let's try it out. And we go in there, and it was an awful experience. I had a terrible time. Like, the people were like the people that played Magic were like super fucking, I don't know, it was a bunch of dicks. It was like weird introvert nerd dicks, but they were not excited to see me there. And it was like the whole, like the 10 people I met just totally ruined it for me. And they were all kind of that, like, we want cheap cards to play with, like, fuck everything else. And
they were the game piece army.
For sure. And I understand that from like a player's perspective, but also like, go get a fucking job. Like, they sit in the game store. Like, these people just sit in the game store all day. And there were literally people there that stayed there all day. And that's like what they did. And then you'd see them working, like, not to shit on anybody's situation, but like, it was just, oh man, I'm getting a little,
so let me ask you this. How's your wife with all this stuff? Like, I mean, now you've had success with it. How was she in the beginning when you started putting large amounts of your money into Pokemon collectibles?
I mean, dude, it's always a hard sell, but good thing that's what I do for a living. I mean, I think having her like a part of the journey, like, she is absolutely involved in like the decisions that we make as a family. Like, because that's like the goal. I mean, at the end of the day, I would sell everything. I would liquidate my 401k. I would do whatever I needed to do to take care of my family. So like, she is very much on board with what we have going on.
But yeah, she knows nothing about it though, right? Like, as far as the Pokemon
Yeah,
business.
but she's a really good listener. Like she's like into it because I'm into it, you know?
Yeah.
Because I get like really into it and like passionate, and she understands that, and it's a good thing. But yeah, she's definitely on board. And I could honestly go to her and be like, hey, I want to put a lot more into it, and I think she'd be okay with it. I know she would be, but like we're also like we're a really solid team.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. Me and my wife have never had any issues over it. Now, a friend of mine that got into it with me back, like 2016, 17 time, it was always a hard sell for him with his fiance and now wife. But when the 2020 boom finally happened, that's when you never heard another peep out of her.
Sure.
Because up till then, it was like, you're spending all this money on Pokemon. We need this, we need that. And he's like trying to tell her, no, I'm investing in it. This is an investment, or we made this flip. We made this much. And when that happened and everything went to the moon, it was like everything went, oh, okay, now I get it.
Yeah. No, I think if you had like a really shitty track record and you were like just going to Walmart and buying like $100 worth of Pokemon every time you went, trying to convince your wife you're investing, that'd be different. Right. But like I think the track record's kind of spoken for itself, and she's on board.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing, dude. Because wife's not on board. It's hard to stay with it and be successful with it if you're constantly worried about that.
For sure. Yeah. No, it wouldn't even be worth it. So household in order first. I mean, that means a lot of things, but that's definitely one of them.
Is there anything topic that you wanted to hit on that we didn't?
No, man, I didn't really have an agenda on this at all. So yeah. I'm just happy to get back in here and shoot the shit a little bit.
Nah, man, you had an agenda. Your agenda was pushing Arrow.
Oh,
it was pushing Latias, the Crown Zenith.
Yeah, no, I guess that is true. Yeah, I did drop a few sneaky ones in. So yeah, good luck.
So what not to drop any more plays, but like what is like in this current market right now, like what are the things you've been looking for most? Is it really just like going to eBay, ending soonest and picking up anything, being an opportunist? Are there definite like high value, large volume of plays that you're going like large into right now with like 20, 50 plus cards of a certain like era or time period in the hobby? Like what do you see in the market right now?
Yeah, so
is it Japanese? Like where's the most plays?
Yeah, it's definitely both. I mean, I buy on TCG Player. I don't sell on TCG Player, but I buy on TCG Player, and then I'll sell those singles back onto eBay. But really don't have a lot of success with that. I mean, for every 20 cards I may buy, maybe I grade one. But I'll buy, low value cards. I don't buy high end cards on TCG Player, but anything under like $10, I'd buy on TCG Player and try and like build some inventory of any one card. And same thing, look for that card on eBay, and then do the same thing for the Japanese side for that same art. So like the Gengar TG06, like the Dark Phantasma version, the Japanese version of that. I mean, same thing. It's like I'll buy 20 copies from Japan, grade it. And as a PSA 10, that card sells for like $35. So that sounds good, but it's like I got $5 in it. I wait 3 weeks for it to get here from Japan. If I submitted it immediately to PSA, I'm waiting 2 months to get it back. I sell it, it takes a week to sell. I mean, I've got 90 to 120 days locking up that capital. And after eBay fees and a shipping label, I'm making $5 on it, but it's like a very consistent $5 play. And there's a lot of alt arts I'm doing that with. So I have like a lot of consistency with really small base hits. And I just don't think I have had enough time to really like know if I want to do that long term. I think I'd like to go through a full market cycle, like a couple of years. I'm not defining the market cycle by any one thing, but let's just say a couple of years. I'd like to do this for a couple of years and be consistent to then see if like, okay, now that I have 15 of a card that started at $35, now it's at $75. I still have 6 of them in the closet. Like, is that the meta? Is that really kind of where I'm going to make my money? And then like, as that also happens, I'm building up like a huge single store, not a bulk store, definitely not bulk, but like cheaper alt arts. It's pretty much like my store is pretty much all alt arts or vintage.
Now, do you sell on TCG Player?
I sold enough on TCG Player because I had to sell like I think I had to get to seller level 2. So I literally just put a few listings on there to get to seller level 2 so I could get the the seller's the reseller's permit, so I didn't pay sales tax on anything. But then TCG Players, they did something weird. Like they only give you store credit, so you still pay the sales tax on the front end, but they give you store credit on the tax you saved, usable the next month.
When did they start that?
Well, they started that, and so I did that, and then like as soon as I got on that program, they stopped doing that. So they don't give you store credit anymore. So that was kind of, that kind of sucks. So that is also another reason I don't buy on TCG Player as much anymore. It's because like I feel like I'm running like these 7%, 8% what you pay in sales tax. Like that could be the difference in me being profitable.
You're not getting your sales tax back?
I'm not. And I've sent them a few tickets over the last couple of weeks trying to figure out what's going on. But I think I need to be back paid. I think there's something going on with Mike.
Yeah, because I'm still getting all my sales tax each month. That's weird.
Wait, so you don't pay sales tax?
No. So TCG Player does it that way. You pay it up front. They refund it all.
So you are getting store credit.
No, I'm getting. It's coming back as payment.
Okay. Yeah, I need to figure out what's going on there. But I mean, TCG Player hasn't been great to me. I feel like it's mostly like I tried buying just from like guys that I could tell weren't card shops.
Hold on.
15 sellers.
Alex said in the chat, TCG Player discontinued sales tax.
That's what I thought too. I think he's right.
All right, I'm going to look right now.
Yeah, I think he's right because I'm not getting anything, and I've been trying to figure out what's going on. And TCG Player has been like super responsive in the past, but I haven't been able to get an answer on it.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think the real Alex.
Wait, hold on. I FOMO said it. It's because you're level 2. You have to get to level 4. So I am level 4. If that makes.
Well, I'm whatever level I need to be because I got that and I was getting it for a time. So maybe I'm level 4. I might even be level 5. It's not very hard to get to the top at TCG Player.
No.
What bulk inventory listed?
Have you tried making any like the like cross grading plays where you're maybe buying out like CGC or Beckett 9.5s or 8.5s, whatever it may be, and cross grading them?
I did that a couple of years ago to like decent success. And then I've done it more recently and gotten fucked. So I don't really do that anymore. But like there's probably money to make if you do it right. But yeah, there's a lot of risk in that. Like there really is a lot of risk in that. I've damaged a card with a screwdriver. You only do that one time, but I did do it one time. So yeah, I used to cross grade like before the pandemic somewhat often, but I don't do it anymore.
It's so funny you said that. I love Pokey Plumber still in the chat. He sent me a video. God, what card was it? I want to like go find it, but like he sent me a video back in the day. It was like a high-end vintage card that he was doing that with, and the screwdriver just went straight through it right into the card.
Yeah.
And it's like, I haven't had that happen yet. I really hope it never does to me.
Yeah, I think if you're careful, like I just got complacent. I've done it so many times and then made a mistake. But yeah, I mean, you make a mistake like that on a nice card, that's a big deal.
And then the problem is it's like everything's just so weird in this hobby. Like obviously the grading's so subjective. Two, here's what people don't understand is all these cards, not all of them, but a lot of them have been sent back and forth, right? So like the CGC Gem Mint 10s, not the pristines, the Gem Mints, a lot of those used to be PSA 9s or Beckett 9.5s or whatever it may be, right? And so people will cross grade it to there. Well, then people will try to buy the CGC Gem Mints and they'll try to cross grade those into a PSA 10 or people will try to grade PSA 10s into Beckett black labels, and everything's just kind of being cross graded wherever there's margin. And it's just kind of, everyone's like vultures. Everyone's looking for margin anywhere they can get it. If they're not finding enough raw cards, they'll try to look for slabs to crack and grade. And it's just this big game of putting cards into different plastic to see if you can make more dollars.
Yeah. And like, hey, hats off to the people that want to keep doing it. I tried it. I didn't have any success with it. But I was trying to go from BGS to PSA when I was doing it because you could get the subgrades of BGS. And it's like, okay, this is like a 9, a 9.5, an 8, and an 8.5. It's like, I mean, the average of that is actually a 9. Maybe I get a PSA 9 and then don't. But, that's I could see it with CGC subgrades going to PSA.
So do you have anything right now, like any cards or items like put away still, like that you wouldn't consider like you're trying to move and sell? Like, do you have anything you're putting away for like longer term?
Slabs or sealed?
Either.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked about the sealed. I
Yeah, the
do have,
Crown Zenith and the 151. Yeah.
yep. And then I still have my celebrations. Um,
What about
and then
slabs?
I have, say again.
What about slabs? I know you used to have some high end.
Yeah, I still have some of my high-end slabs, but I have put them on my eBay store for much higher than market price. I don't expect to sell them, but I actually just put them on there to just drive traffic to my store. But if somebody did pay that price, I wouldn't cancel the sale. I mean, I would sell it. So
Gotcha. Okay. So everything.
yeah, I mean, it's all
the
again, man. It's all like I really am looking at like what I'm doing is like my collection is basically just constantly in flux, and I'm good with that. Like, there's not any one card where I'm like, I basically owned every card that I would ever have wanted to own at some point. And like one day I'll probably get it back and I'll pay 5 times what I sold it for 10 years ago. And that's all good because in the meantime, I would have done some other things with that money. And like, I'm okay with like, that's kind of how I think I'll forever operate.
That's actually a huge, awesome point right there. Is just because you're paying more for something in the future, it doesn't mean it was a bad move. And I think a lot of people are really worried about like, if they're selling or buying at the right time. It's just like there is no right time. It's like, maybe you sell this card today for $500, but then you were able to, make this play, that play. You were able to buy this other card for 200, and now that card's worth 600. And then in the future, that card's 1,000. It's like, well, I was able to make multiple thousands with that $500, and I'm easily able to pay 1,000 for that card I paid $500 for. So it's like, I think it's less about worrying about if things are going to go up. It's like, yeah, a lot of things are going to go up, but like, what can I do in the meantime?
Right. And that's why, like, in the past streams that we've done, I've talked about, like, I don't feel the need to rush into a set, even like a Paldea Evolved. I'm like, dude, obviously I missed the easy move, but I'm not scared to buy it at the current price. Yeah. So like, I totally agree. I don't think it's just everything is subjective.
Yeah, it's kind of like the alt arts, right? Like, I love the alt arts. Like, I'm a huge alt art fan. Like, I want to collect them, right? But at the same time, I knew I bought them for a purpose and a play. And, it's like I could always be wrong, but there's a part of me that thinks, you know what, this was a massive move. There's going to be a pullback. There's going to be a time of stagnation. Like, there's a good chance that I could buy all these back in a year and for relatively the same prices of what they're going for now, maybe some less. And, what can I do in a year with all this money? And I could make this much money, buy them back for my collection off all the profits I make off selling them right now. And I'm with you. I'm thinking a lot more that way than the way of I'm going to buy this and hold it forever and I'm going to get buried with it type thing.
Right. Yeah. No, that's definitely how I want to continue to do things. Like, even if I had every slab that I've ever wanted in front of me, let's fucking list them. Like, let's get them. Let's start moving it. Let's start figuring out the next thing. Cause that's what's fun. That's also what's fun to me. It's not all about the money. Like, I wouldn't be here if there wasn't money to be made, but it's certainly not all about the money. There's better ways to make money. But if I can make money and enjoy like something outside of my 9 to 5, I mean, dude, that's awesome. And again, it's in the name. It's trading cards. Like, if I can trade 1 for 2, that's pretty sweet. Can I go 2 to 4? Can I do 4 to 8? And over a long enough period of time, yes, you definitely can. So, and there's no, like, this is a very inefficient market. So there's always going to be opportunity. But by the time it hits YouTube, like, I'm not saying it's over by the time something hits YouTube, but if you don't discover it like on your own, then it's probably not going to last too much longer, at least in that current state. But, and it's always going to change. Like, I was talking about Japan getting their own PSA. They're going to have their own PSA grading headquarters. I mean, dude, that's going to change things. It might take 2 years. And that seems like that would ruin people's current business model. Like, there are definitely people out there that would completely crush, but like, those people just need to pivot and they'll have enough time to do it. Like, you just slowly adapt and change. And that's the markets, man.
Hey man, that's why I brought Steve on, right? I'm trying to give the Japanese side because Steve deals a lot in Japanese cards, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I like Japanese cards, but I like English cards more because I can read them. But like, I understand the draw to Japanese, and I want to go to Japan this year. And my goal, like, we didn't talk about that at all, but my goal with going to Japan this year is to pay for the trip by being like, I need to be able to buy. My goal is to not only go to Japan, but my secondary goal is to make enough money by buying singles there and selling them here that I pay for the trip as well, and do that all within the business.
Wow. What does a trip like that cost?
Well, flights are, that's where you're going to spend your money. Flights are retarded.
Yeah.
Flights are like $2,000 a piece. But I fly a lot for work. So I've got quite a bit of, like, I'll have probably one ticket accounted for, and then I'll put the other ticket in the business. And then once you get there, it'd be like anywhere else. You probably got $200 a day between a decent hotel and food. But then I need to also have like enough capital. So I'm trying to like,
so you're going to try and get about $5,000 or $6,000 in flips while you're there.
Yeah. Which would mean I probably need to buy, much more than that, 5X that, because I'm probably making 20% on anything I touch.
Yeah.
So I need to probably spend 25 grand while I'm there.
Well, going to the source, you might be able to do a little better.
Maybe. I mean, that's one of the things I want to see. I've seen a lot of videos of guys going into card stores, and it's like, it's really not worth going. But I also wouldn't be upset if I went and it wasn't like, wow, I made so much money. I'm going back to Japan next month. Like I just want to so I was deployed in Japan. Like my wife's never been there. I want to take her. I think she'd love it. And then we just have this to be able to explore too, and just put it all in the business name and go there for work. So
did you enjoy living over there?
Yeah. I lived in Okinawa for about a year, which isn't mainland Japan, but we would fly to Tokyo for some airborne operations. So yeah, it was awesome, dude. Tokyo was cool. Okinawa was amazing. Okinawa was unbelievable. The water, I mean, it's like you're in the Caribbean, but the water is, it's Pacific water, so it's a little bit colder. But like spearfishing, snorkeling, scuba diving, deep sea fishing, amazing. The food was incredible. If you like raw fish, I mean, it's just straight from the source. Like it was amazing. And the people, the culture, I love everything about it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with your store right now, like what would you say like an average day is? Like how many sales or orders are you shipping like per day usually?
I think like conservatively 7. And like a good day, like excluding auction blocks, it's like 7 to 15, but like 7 is kind of the baseline. So if I go out of town for 3 or 4 days, like I've got a good hour or two of just like figuring out, it does add up. But how many listings
do you keep it around?
I have, I think, 450 listings right now, not including any auctions. And I usually have an auction block going. I have had an auction block going for the last month, just trying to free up liquidity because I spent a lot over the last 45 days, and I do need to free up some capital to pay that off. But yeah, I mean, it's not like a super impressive store. If I was not working, like I would not be in a good situation. That's for sure.
Right.
But so keep that in mind. I don't think I'm not crushing it. I'm not doing amazing. And when I do, like, let's say then the average sales are going to be like your PSA 10s and your moderns. So you're looking at, $30 to $50 cards a lot of the times. That's probably $5 or $10 in my pocket on a sale like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and then we talked a little bit before stream. I don't know if we talked about it on stream, and I can't remember, but as far as like auctions, I think auctions are doing extremely well for like Scarlet Violet era, Sword and Shield alt arts for sure. Anything that's like high popularity, like in kind of in trend or whatever, the auctions are doing extremely well. Or if it's like, card that people are seeking after and there's very low supply on the market and the only listings are like super high, sometimes you can have that bidding war. But as far as like, I don't sell a lot of vintage, but I would assume like vintage and definitely even a lot of like XY and Sun and Moon stuff right now probably isn't the best to auction just because there not enough eyes are on it. And you might not get, pushed up enough to where it should get. Because I mean, with auctions, my understanding is like how I feel about it. If I'm able to get anywhere like 10% or less, or 10% or closer to the full market price, I'm happy with it. Anything less, you're kind of like, I don't know. Where are you at with the whole auction thing?
Yeah, I mean, I prefer not to auction just because like I am running on relatively thin margins anyways, and losing 10% below market. Well, I'm trying to get like 2 to 3% above market. So it's like that kind of eats into a lot of my work. But like right now, I am willing to eat that. And then auctions are weird, man. Sometimes things sell for way more than you're buying now. I literally have cards that sell every time I do an auction block. I'm only auctioning off multiples. So I will literally have that same card on my store as buy it now. And like the Japanese 151 Pikachu art rare, that card is on my store for like $39. I just auctioned one off and it sold for 51 plus $5 shipping. That sold for $56. And I'm like, it's weird. But yeah, but at the same time, like I could sell a PSA 10 special delivery Charizard in that same auction block and only get $160 for it. And it's like, well, that kind of sucks because I just sold one at Buy It Now for $240 last week. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'd say you're pretty much spot on though. 10% below market is probably the average. If you sell off 50 cards, that's probably where you're going to land. And that's really good. Like to be able to access your liquidity that quickly, that's pretty fucking good.
Oh, dude, if you could do that every time, I mean, and you could get the money back that quick, literally like send a PSA, get the cards back in a month and a half, 2 months, get the money immediately in a week, and then do it again. I mean, that's kind of position A. It's where you want to be.
For sure. And if you were making a higher margin, let's say you were making 50% margins on everything you touch, that would 100% be the way to go. Yeah. I would auction everything off. But my situation, I'm definitely not. I'm not buying as smart as a lot of other people are. I'm not putting in the work to forge those relationships overseas with people and get those cheaper prices. Whatever these guys are doing, I'm not doing that. So my margins are just, they're that much smaller.
Yeah, again, everyone's got different deals. Like, I'm sure there are people with good relationships. There's obviously people have some PSA deals going on. They spend enough or, lowered eBay fees that our eBay store is big enough. But, that's few and far between. A lot of the stuff you hear online is a lot of talk. A lot of people like to embellish like their sales and also their profits where, a lot of people know, hey, there's a lot of work that goes into this and the margins are all very thin. You have to do a large amount of volume to make big money in this hobby. That's just the way it is. And I think that's why I like having you on. I like having people like you on. It's because it's so refreshing to talk to real people and not hear all the meme stuff, like act like everyone's getting rich. Like, I talk about all the time, but like the live shows, it's like, people having these big fat stacks of cash, like, oh, I made billions of Collecticon, or, showing these eBay 90-day sales. Like I did this much in sales. It's like, well, how much profit did you make? Or I did this much last year. It's like, well, how much profit did you make? And right. I just think that needs to be talked about more.
I mean, dude, I work with so in my actual job, in our business, we work with high-end home builders that are grossing tens of millions of dollars a year, all of them. And I have like a very, very up close look at their operation. I sit in a lot of meetings with these guys and help understand the directions they're trying to go with their business. And these guys that are churning tens of millions of dollars, they are happy to make 10 to 12%. And I mean, dude, 10 to 12%, you're like, well, fuck, even if you're churning $10 million a year, it's like you're making $1 million. And that's a lot of money. But I would have thought when I was younger, I would have been like, really, you only make 10% of that. So $10 million and you make $1 million. And that probably doesn't surprise anybody in the chat, but a 10%, and that's in construction. So a 10% margin in construction, this is Pokemon cards, dude. I would say like 10% margins is about where I land. And I'm churning not near enough volume to make that any kind of substantial amount of living. But guys that are even churning a couple million a year, it's like if they're making 10%, like you keep that in mind. I would say 10% is where most businesses are operating. Restaurants are sometimes even thinner than that. They're at like 7%. So, 7 to 15%, that's kind of the range that most businesses operate. And that's their bottom line, what they actually take home.
Yeah. And that's why I've always tried to be very transparent about it, because, I've ran multiple companies and it's, I just don't think that that's told enough online, is because it's a lot easier to show the big flashy numbers. It's what gets the clicks. People like to hear that good feel good stuff. But yeah, in reality, it's just like, you can show these flips where you make all this percentage gain, or you can show the good ones, but it's like, talk about the 8s you get, talk about the 9s you get, talk about the losses that you take, talk about the shipping materials, talk about the other business expenses that come up, talk about the one, maybe that gets lost out there in the mail, with these envelopes, or there's like so many different things that goes on that take away from the margins of the good plays. And yeah, like maybe 10 to 20% is where a lot of the people in this industry fall. And so then you start doing the numbers and you're like, oh, so that guy sold 300 grand last year. Well, 10, 20%. So he's making like $30,000 to $60,000. Oh my gosh. I thought these guys were getting rich.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And it's like, if that is that person's like, that's what they do, that's all they do. It's like, dude, you don't have there's no 401k, there's no health insurance. So, I mean, that's that's the reality of this business, this space, and it always has been. And I guarantee you it always will be. If anything, margins will probably continue to get smaller and smaller as more and more people do this and people have access to the internet. I mean, hell, a 6-year-old kid could sell his Pokemon card collection on eBay right now. So like there's very low barrier to entry and anybody can do it. And most people who are in this chat have probably sold on eBay, and there's no barriers to entry. You don't have to pull permits. You don't have to have a trailer. You don't have to haul material. You don't have to deal with logistics. Like you just buy shit online. It comes to your mailbox and then you turn around, and these people probably won't stick with it. So like full circle, like just going to try and be consistent for the next couple of years. And like, even if I'm not like where I want to be percentage wise this year, I'm like, okay, I feel like I just need to do it for another year. And
honestly, that's actually
a couple of years, like this is going to work out.
And that turns into a benefit. Like talking about the volatility, it's like, okay, let's say the volatility does kind of level off a little bit, right? And people do quit. Like people do say, okay, this is a lot of work. I'm not making as much money as I was or want to. I'm going to go back to the job, or I'm going to stop doing this, or it's too much waste of my time. It's like enough of those. If the, I want to say bad times, but like more level times come and those people do fall off, that's just better for people like, me and you and others. Is when the good times do come back, all those other people are gone. Not as many people are doing it, and the margins are back to being good because there's less supply of everyone doing it. So it just swings back and forth like a pendulum.
It does. But like my point is that there's literally nothing stopping from anybody in this chat right now to compete with my eBay store or your eBay store. And like the short-term people, like, yes, like I may have a bad week in eBay. I may have a bad 6 months in eBay sales because of it. But as soon as it does become more difficult to make money, they'll leave. And then I'll go back to probably a decreased level of volume, but relative steadiness. And then in 2 years, when those people come back into the hobby, they're now your liquidity.
So I guess in ending this, we've been almost 2 hours, guys. What's two things? Like, what's any advice do you have for people like they're wanting to get started? And two, what are you kind of your biggest goal? Like, continue to go forward. Is it just to like increase the amount of items that you have listed on the store? Is it to increase like the speed, how well you sell and how much volume you go through? What's your biggest goal? Like, going through the end of this year, what are you trying to do the most?
Yeah. So I guess my goal is to just continue to grow my inventory. Like, I don't necessarily want to touch that for really forever. I could just lose all of this right now and it's fine. So I just want to continue to grow that over there and let it keep growing and growing and growing and keeping that money in the business. As soon as I have a surplus of cash, like my goal should be to get rid of that cash and put it into more inventory and then make 10% on that and keep doing that and that and that. So my goal is to just continue to snowball this business and scale it up to where it's actually something one day that when we have kids, like, hey, I could maybe teach my son how to run a business, like that's kind of like the long game. And I'm playing that. Like, that's my goal, is to stretch this out over the next 20 years and see where I can take it.
What did Rudy say? Rudy said in one video recently, I just need to outweight everyone else. I just need to be in this longer than everyone else is.
And that's really it. Like, you ask, like my father-in-law is super old school guy. I used to pick his brain all the time, super successful business guy, and be like, Sam, what's the trick? Like, what would you recommend? He'd be like, man, it only takes 20 years to make a quick buck. It's like, you want to double your money, you fold in half, put it back in your pocket. And it's like, that's the kind of advice, those one-liners, those classic. Now that's the sales side, the one-liners. You never give a wrong answer when you give somebody a one-liner. You never really answer their question either. But like that's really, it means a lot to me now. Because now I see that. Like, when you sell a cup of coffee and that's how you make your money, you're making your money $2 at a time. And you just need to be an open storefront in a busy area for longer than the next guy to make sure that you're the guys they're buying their $2 coffee from.
Yeah.
So
any advice for anyone starting to build their eBay stores? What were kind of I know you haven't been doing it long, but like what are the biggest successes you think is like kind of built it to where it is so far?
To be honest, I would say just like lower your expectations and make sure you enjoy it. Like, really. I would not go in there thinking like, okay, I'm going to make a bunch of money. As soon as you see how much eBay's taken out of your gross sales and what you're actually paying in fees, and you learn what it's like to keep an inventory and having to constantly, there's always something to do. Like take it slow, just start, maybe sell your collection, then buy more with that and see where it goes and make sure you enjoy it. Cause it's definitely like, maybe you really don't want to do this because it's definitely a grind. I would not expect to go into it and just make money. I've still got a lot of shit I need to figure out and figure out what direction I want to take this. If I want to focus more on singles, if I want to pivot into more foreign markets, like there's a lot of things. And I'm now a year into this, like really like pretty immersed. I mean, I have a job that my career allows me to be really engaged. Like I probably do 20 plus hours a week on this minimum. I mean, I probably do 40 to be honest, but I'll just say 20. So like, there's a lot of work that I'm putting in this. I would just lower your expectations.
The classic answer from every Pokemon seller is undercutting the amount of hours actually put into this.
I mean, dude, there's like if you just said like the time I'm thinking about it or have like a video running and you included that into like, I mean, dude, it's a lot of time. So if you're not really into it, if you're not about it, then you're not gonna make money. So that like just rules out the whole like evil investor thing.
Yeah, or just like sitting on your phone, like while you're watching TV, like waiting for an eBay auction to end, or looking at this,
right.
looking at that. Like it's like you almost do it out of like second nature. Like you're sitting there and you're watching TV or a movie with your wife or whatever, and somehow that phone ends up in your hand and you're scrolling through listings. Like somehow that just happens.
Right. So if you actually quantified it, man, it's definitely more than 20 hours. But I would say like actually the grindy part of the business, probably 10 to 20 hours a week. And then basically I'm always on standby. But I'm also, my career is kind of like that too. I'm always kind of available for my accounts. So it works well with my lifestyle. But I think if you were like a very steady 9 to 5 kind of person, and you liked your benefits and your 401k, then I don't know. I don't know. That's not a good answer for you, but there's my answer.
No, I'm gonna second that. So guys, anyone that's like, I'm sure all of you have found my channel are probably deep enough to where you are doing this already. If you're like thinking about doing it, thinking about doing content, thinking about doing selling, just like he said, try it out. Like you will find out what you like and what you don't like really fast. I've done it. Like, I mean, I haven't done the bulk game, but I've talked with multiple card shop owners, talked with Eli. Like I've really dug into the whole bulk side of things. It didn't sound like something I wanted to do. I did the mass grading, mass buying singles. I mean, I've done a lot of that game. I was grading hundreds of cards a month, all that, and figured out that I don't know if I like it on that volume. Dove into the content game, figured out I really like the content side of things a lot more than the buying and selling side. So I've really, done this. I love opening packs, and the fact that I can open them on screen with you guys on Thursday nights. I love doing that. So I like doing that every week. But like, I think the best thing to do is dive into it and try every little different angle and figure out what you like and just focus all on that. Because like Steve said, there's going to be money to be made in any different area. But if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to end up, doing good at it. So you're not going to grind it the way you should. Well, that's it, man. What anything to end it with? We're gonna call it, guys. Appreciate all you guys being here. No, man. Sounds good. Thanks for having me on again. Absolutely. All right, guys. We're gonna call it there. Appreciate everyone sticking with us. Steve, what do you want me to? I guess I can link your eBay store. You want me to link like a YouTube or anything in the video? No, man. No, don't link anything. I want to just keep doing this organically for as long as I can. I want to make this work on my own, and then maybe one day I'll go more public with it. But yeah, I'm going to keep grinding. Link the eBay store? No, man. I want to do this organically. I really do. All right, guys. You guys have a good night. I'll see you guys back here in a new video tomorrow. I'm out. See you guys.